Hello and welcome to a new series of Times Crossword vlogs that Mark Goodliffe and I are going to be doing over the next few weeks and months. The idea being to improve everyone's solving of these puzzles. First, we'd like to say thank you to the Times for allowing us to use their crosswords in this way. And without further ado, let's move on to today's puzzle. The way we're going to do these is we are going to try and keep them as real time as possible. So we're going to be looking at either that day's cryptic crossword or the previous day's cryptic crossword, and there should be something for everybody. Today we're going to focus more on beginners and talking a bit about how to approach the puzzles ab initio, and then in other vlogs we're going to look at sometimes more expert type solving. This will be the first time anyone has had the opportunity to see Mark Goodliffe solve real time, to see how he rushes through these puzzles. For those of you who know who Mark is, he is I think a 10 times Times Crossword champion. He tends to finish the puzzles in 5 or 6 minutes most days, so he is very, very quick, and yeah, you'll get to see him solve. You'll get to see Muggins here racing against him, probably getting slaughtered most of the time, but anyway, that's for other days. So today's puzzle, it wasn't terribly easy actually. Requires quite a lot of crossword ease and quite a lot of knowledge about how these puzzles work. It took me 12 minutes 48 seconds, and I think the very quickest people will be sort of 6 or 7 minutes on this puzzle. So it gives you an idea of how difficult it is. The thing that we'd like everyone to remember about Times Cryptic Crosswords is that although they do require a little bit of crossword knowledge to solve them, you can almost always find a way in. Always remember that these puzzles and these clues always contain a quick crossword clue, and it's really just a matter of learning how to spot where that part of the clue lives. So let's have a look at a couple here. Let's have a look at 11 across firstly, where the clue was figures rather heavy, not wide. Now, my experience with crosswords tells me that whenever I see the word wide in a crossword clue, it's almost certainly not referring to its normal meaning. It's referring to the letter W. So it's referring to the abbreviation for wide that's used in cricket. And cricket is very, very fondly used, I suppose, by crossword setters. So that they'll use by, leg by, on and off side, and here. So when I see the word wide, I'm thinking, okay, I have to use a W somehow. So let's look at the rest of the clue. Figures rather heavy, not wide. So the way I read this is that I'm looking at the quick crossword definition here is the word figure, and that could mean a number of things. So let's move on to the rest of it. Rather heavy, okay, not wide. So I need a word for rather heavy that looks like it's 7 letters long, and then I take the W out of that and I'll get a 6-letter word for a figure. And if something's rather heavy, it's weighty. Weighty's got the W we need, we take the W off and we get 80, which is clearly a figure. So that clue is quite accessible if you have a little bit of crossword experience. So lesson number 1, see any cricketing terms, think abbreviations, and also remember that the cricketing term is probably not the quick crossword definition part of the clue. Let's have a look at another clue. I wanted to have a look at 18 down. Again, this is one of these. You'll see my solve is appearing on the screen, and you can see that I'm flitting around all over the place, not really getting much of a grip in any part of the grid. So I'm looking for accessible clues, and I found one at 18 down. So this is 7 letters, group that is breaking glasses. And here again, I used my crossword knowledge to think, whenever I see the phrase "that is," I'm always thinking of i.e. Id est, i.e. And so I knew in this clue I was looking at, I needed to put i.e. inside a 5-letter word for glasses, and the whole thing would mean a group. Well, it didn't take me too long to think that glasses might be specs, and once I put the IE inside, I got species, and that's the group. So again, that's sort of doable with only a very minimal amount of crossword knowledge. Now let's look at a final example now, which is how extreme wordplay can get. This is not the place to start in this puzzle. This was an absolutely brutal piece of wordplay, and it's 10 across. So, old doctor, content to leave Indian route. Well, when you read that, you can, I think I thought that the answer might be a word for a type of Indian root, an Indian spice of some sort. In fact, it's far more devious than that. Here, old is being used as an abbreviator for O. Doctor, rather than being sort of a medical doctor, if you doctor someone's brakes on a car, you rig them. So doctor is being used as a synonym here for rig. So we have O plus rig, and then content to leave Indian is saying take the inside letters out of the word Indian so that you're just left with the beginning I and the ending N, the I and the N. So overall we have O plus rig plus IN for origin, and the root of something is its origin. Now that one you can only get, I would contend anyway, once you have a lot of checking letters in the grid. And even somebody very, very experienced at solving these puzzles, and probably I would count myself in that bracket, I would be staring at that clue for hours trying to solve it cold. So the lesson here is, don't get too hung up on a particular clue. Move on if it's not, if you're reading it and it's just not giving you anything. Try and get letters in the grid to help with the more difficult clues. I know that's stating the obvious, but even for very experienced solvers, that is so important. And there will always be, in these puzzles, 2, 3, 4, 5 clues which are accessible, and it's just a case of finding them. Tomorrow, as I say, we're going to have a different sort of blog. Mark's going to be, we'll have Mark solve on tomorrow, and we'll show that. In the meantime, we'd be really grateful if you could leave us any feedback, what you'd like to see more of, what would be helpful, and with that, yeah, happy solving.